lot total.
A lot. Yeah.
Um, Pretty much from concept or idea concept to seeing the first prototype, wear testing it, all the way through the last look. There's probably 10 or so checkpoints that I get real feedback, but I'm a part of the whole process, so it's good.
What color are you gonna go with on Tuesday?
It's a surprise.
How much did you enjoy that whole process, the whole kind of putting it together from start to finish?
It's rewarding because trying to grow the basketball category at Under Armour, but also put out a shoe that's um, going to make people who wear it, hopefully better on the court. That's what we're all about. So um, I never thought I'd be in this situation where you're able to put your fingerprint on a product like that and do it over and over again.
Right.
Start a line, and it's a pretty amazing process.
Did you know it was that involved before you started doing it? Like, did you kind of have an idea what it was, or is it a lot more than you ever really expected once you got involved with it?
I knew kind of the vague principles of shoe development or shoe production. It's like an 18-month process from the time you actually sit down and figure out what the design is going to be, what innovation is going to be, to the time that you take it to retail and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know how many people are involved in it. Two, how much planning you need to have, because it's really hard once you get to past certain checkpoints to go back
Right.
and change things. So you really got to be diligent in every step of the way, because um, each part of the shoe that you layer on top of each other, there's a lot that goes into a size, for me, 12 and a half.
Last year, so many people projected that you guys were going to play the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. You didn't play them until like late January. Is it good to have them kind of as an opening barometer for where you guys are?
It doesn't matter. For us, we got to play everybody on our schedule when they show up. So it'll be a really good atmosphere, obviously, and should be high level of play on both ends. And so it'll take a lot to get a win, but we had the same, I think, focus last year playing against New Orleans opening night that we should have on Tuesday.
Last couple of years, you guys kind of created this culture, a lot of fun. LB was a big part of that, Mo and those guys. Have you been able to recreate that with a new group this year, or is that still a work in progress?
That stuff will grow, every day that we, go through the season. There's obviously storylines and jokes and stuff that kind of just develop as you go along. But there's already a high level of chemistry and camaraderie um, that you can't fake. That if it's real or not. And I think we got a really good group of guys that understand um, how to have fun doing what we do, but also compete with each other in practice and in games.
Looks like KD's having a lot of fun with you guys too. Did you expect that because you know him already, or has he just fitted even better than you thought he would?
No, that's right as we expected, and it's only going to continue to get better. So, knowing his personality from the times we played in World Championship games and stuff like that, you kind of know who he is. And um, as we always say, he's a basketball player just like the rest of us. So, on the court, it gels really smooth and same off.
He said he's going to be leaning on you guys again to figure out when to rest some of the core guys throughout the season. Do you foresee any times where you might go up to coach and say, "Hey, I could maybe now is a good time to take this game off," or see that happening?
I don't see it because you don't know how the season's going to unfold.
Right.
I think 2 years ago was there was only one time, like in March, where he came to us and recommended we sit down, and it took some convincing, but we did just one time. And last year, obviously, we know how that played out. So every year is gonna be different, and I don't foresee myself, you know, tapping out of any game, but you never know exactly what the situation will be.
With the collective toll, kind of that pursuit of 73 took on you guys last year. Are you more open to maybe resting a couple games throughout the year?
I mean, if the situation makes sense, yeah. Um, if you get down towards the end of the season, you got a comfortable lead on the #1 spot, and the back-to-back or something like that, and it makes sense at that particular time, then maybe. But you don't go. I think for us, we're gonna pace ourselves by how we focus every single game, taking care of what we can control, so that hopefully we're in a situation where at the end of the season, the last 2 games won't matter as much when it comes to seeding and things like that. But you never know.
If Larry Bird was the last guy to win MVP 3 years in a row, I know your head's not in that space right now, but wondered how you see the discussion about MVP and the idea that's, I think, pretty widespread that Kevin coming to town, there's almost this canceling out of votes type idea that people feel like it's going to make it tough on you. How do you see that?
If that's what happens at the end of the year, then that means we're in a good shape. So I don't think, like you said, I don't think like that as we go through the year. If we're in a position where we win a lot of games, and because we're winning a lot of games, it means I'm playing well, he's playing well, Clay's playing well, whoever. We'd like to have those kind of conversations as to what might happen with the awards and stuff like that, but we're playing to win. It's a very cheesy answer, but that's how I've gotten, how I've gotten to this point. It's not playing for those awards. It's you do it in the concept of winning, and that's a result as well.
Did that cross your mind at all back in July? I mean, when you're sitting in the Hamptons, and listen, it's and you earned them, but back-to-back MVP is a nice way to go. And so you're sitting there looking at a guy that is going to come jump into that spotlight with you. Did that stuff cross your mind at all?
Well, it's a conversation for sure, because me and him the last 3, and so I don't think there's ever been code, whatever, but you have the conversation and just understand the expectations that that's not what I'm playing for, that's not what he's playing for, but we're going to give everything we got every night and try to lift each other up, make each other better, get all we can individually out of the season so that we get as many wins as we can and accomplish that goal. And then, like I told him, if he were to be the one that wins it or something down, I'd be cheering him on. I hope he do the same for me as teammates. And you want to be in a position where grand team accomplishments outshadow any of that stuff anyway.
What's your level of comfort and confidence in the core and the group and you guys behind the scenes and kind of the mood? Because I kind of feel like the public discourse is a lot different this year than it was a year ago. A year ago it was joyful.
Honestly, none of that stuff's crept in. We have to respond, like obviously with the article about Draymond, we all thought it was ridiculous and kind of looking, through a keyhole at somebody's life that you don't really know about. And we see, every single day what goes on with what a guy like Draymond brings to the table for us, how he makes us better, how KD does that for us, what Clay does for us, all the way down the list. And we appreciate everybody's role. We appreciate what our common goal is. And so when we get back in the locker room and practice and when we're by ourselves, the mood is pretty solid. It's something that I'm pretty confident will allow us to have, maturity when it comes to the noise around us and how we handle it and not letting that affect how we play on the court and how we see each other, and let that get in the way. So I'm gonna do my part in trying to lead that charge.